Taking a weird. All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Coach Pony's webinar on Ask a Lawyer. So if you are here and you have crazy questions about legal issues, you are in the right place. So we are super excited to see you and hear you. And please, as you settle in, share with us what you're drinking as we come on screen and say hello. So hello, everyone. I'm Christy from Coach Pony. I'm drinking Dr. Pepper and water. I like to, as you know, I like to double fist on my webinars. This is Bobby from Your Online Genius. Bobby, say your last name for me one time, please, because I forgot to ask you how to pronounce it correctly.
It's Clink, just like you put somebody in the clink, or like the Colonel if you're a bit older. And I just finished my last cup of coffee, so I'm not drinking anything at the moment.
Fair enough. So as you settle in, everyone, just feel free to tell us what you're drinking and also perhaps where you are, where you're chatting in from. So I, of course, am on the West Coast. Bobby, I believe you're on the East Coast. Is that right?
I am. I'm in Washington, D.C.
That's where I'm from originally. So we're spanning the continent.
That's
Anyone
right.
else, feel free to share. Chris, hello, Dr. Pepper and water. Chris, great minds do think alike. I love it. I love it. Hey, Brittany. Hey, Sandra. Hey, Michaela. Hey, Kelly. Awesome. Let's see. Oh, hey, everyone. Roof coffee. I don't know what that is, but I want some. All right. Christine on the West Coast, British Columbia. Awesome. Chris is from Central Kentucky. Excellent. I like that. Kind of more in the middle of the country. Mark is also in Washington, D.C.
That's right.
Sparkling orange. Nice. Nice. All right, everyone. So if you are new to the Coach Pony experience, I just want to welcome you to what will be an awesome, I'm going to say 50 to 60 minutes of just getting your questions answered. And as a bit of housekeeping, I'm so glad you're here live. The recording is for my Build a Real Business students. So if you have not checked out Build a Real Business, I'll put a link in it at some point and you're more than welcome to check it out. But if you're here live, you can get your questions answered now. So here's our agenda for this session. We just had a welcome. So delighted to have you. We're going to spend all of our time essentially just taking questions. I've solicited questions, a few questions ahead of time. And of course, I want you to chat in your questions now as well, or not right this moment, but momentarily, for Bobby to talk to you about, what your legal issues are. And just as a heads up, Bobby's a Harvard lawyer from who has a background in tax law, and I'll read out his bio in a second. But as you think about the questions you want to ask, keep in mind he's not an accountant. He's a tax lawyer and has a wealth of information in that legal side. So we'll do our best to answer all of your questions, but every now and again there may be a question he doesn't feel comfortable asking. So just heads up on that. Think about things a little bit more from a legal perspective if you can, and we'll give you some examples in a second. All right, just a really quick intro if you're new to the Coach Pony world. I'm Christy Mims. Years ago, I founded the Revolutionary Club, which is a career coaching practice for smart men and women who want to find work that they love. Our mission in the Revolutionary Club is to help people find their passion. And it's been an ongoing concern for 6.5 years. I've been doing it. It's still there. If you're curious, you can go check it out. We still run programs and offer advice for people who are just feeling really stuck in their careers. And I mention this because I didn't come to kind of doing some business coaching and doing coaching in this arena just because from nothing. I spent years building up a Forbes Top 100 practice as a career coach before I started Coach Pony. And so I more than welcome, and I'm more than welcome you to invite, I said that backwards. I invite you to go check it out. And if you're like, Revolutionary Club, Coach Pony, what? Of course, you're probably familiar with Coach Pony if you're here. Our mission in Coach Pony is to help new life coaches make their business real. There's so much sleaze and shadiness and people preying on new coaches because we are optimistic and we are all about enrolling people in possibility, which means we often fall prey to those who don't always have the best intentions. And that frustrates me and it makes me angry. So I had a lot of success with Revolutionary Club. People ask me how I did it. And eventually I set up this community because it's what I wish I had had when I was a new life coach. So we are here to help make your business real, not a vanity business with a sad blog and 2 free clients. We're here to help you get actual paying clients with concrete information, free resources, webinars like this, and of course, programs like Build a Real Business. So you're more than welcome to go to coachpony.com and check us out, check out our blog. read up, get the help that you need, and invite others to join you. Our mission, again, we just want to reach as many life coaches as we can and get their businesses going, because you guys are going to change the world. And right now, the world could use a little more positivity. So with that, let me introduce Bobby. So I found Bobby because I was panicking about all the new regulations that happened in Europe this year related to privacy, the GDPR. And so I came across an interview he did about it, and I took his online training for GDPR to help my business. And I was like, I really like his style. So I thought, you know what we need over here at Coach Pony? We need some good legal advice. So I invited Bobby to come and speak. And I just want to take a second. I'm going to read his bio because I think it's worthwhile. So Bobby Klink is an intellectual property attorney, but he is not your typical lawyer. Sure, he went to Harvard Law School and worked at some of the most prestigious firms in the country. But if you look at the big whiteboard in his office, you won't see very much about the law. His whiteboard is filled with tasks related to platform building, inbound marketing, and sales funnels. Bobby is a full-fledged online entrepreneur whose area of expertise is the law. And his mission is to help other online entrepreneurs safeguard their online businesses. So everyone say hello to Bobby and welcome him to our awesome and spirited and a little bit sassy Coach Pony community.
I'm just happy to be here, Christy.
Bobby, is there anything I missed on your intro?
I don't think so. My whiteboard, in fact, right now, I have an email sequence that I'm writing is what I have up on my whiteboard. That is what's up there at the moment. Thinking through my newest nurture sequence. So the intro is very much an accurate statement of my life at the moment.
That's awesome. I also have a new nurture sequence I've been working on in the background too, so we're on the same page. But anyway, welcome everyone. I want to give a quick shout out to the chat. Thank you for your warm welcome. And whoever said wahoo wah, who's a fellow UVA grad, high five. I saw it come by in the chat and it moved too fast for me to catch your name, but yes, UVA all the way. All right, so we want to get into a Q&A, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some questions I got from my Build a Real Business students ahead of time. While you think about the questions that you have, we might actually, hopefully we'll cover some of the questions that you have, but this is, as any Coach Pony webinar, this is meant to be interactive. I'm not here to waste your time. I'm not here to give you content you don't need. So, by all means, I want you to think about some of your burning legal questions. And once we tackle these that I have in the beginning to give you a chance to think through it, we'll move to the chat and we'll just start answering your questions to the best of your ability. As you know, Bobby's here. He's got a ton of legal information. I, of course, am always here to talk about building a coaching business because that is what I love to do. So, I'm super excited to be here with you guys now. And for that point, I'm just going to go ahead and stop sharing. So it's just me and Bobby on the screen for the moment.
Oh, that's way too big, but okay.
Yeah, we're real now. We're real.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, I've got a bunch of questions over here on my second computer. I'm working 2 drinks and 2 computers because that's how I like to roll.
It's a good way to roll.
All right, so one of the first questions is a really good one, and it's something we talk about a lot as coaches. So Bobby, what is your best advice for how do you write good contracts that don't include a lot of scary legal boilerplate or legalese that can kind of scare potential clients or new clients away? How do we do that and still stay protected?
Well, I'm going to give you an answer you may not like to hear, which is your contracts actually should have boilerplate in them. Okay. Now, what I'll tell you is words like such and wherefore and that kind of stuff, get rid of it. That doesn't need to be there. But the reason why boilerplate legalese is in a contract, just to give you a sense, is what's happened is lawyers who write contracts, and then lawyers who sue people find holes in contracts, sue, and so then we add a clause to fill that hole. And then someone finds another hole, and so we add clauses over and over again. And so the problem is that if you go without that, you might be exposed. Now, what I like to say is if you see a clause that's, yay long and it's got about 18 commas in it, you probably shouldn't touch it. It probably needs to be there. Other stuff, though, doesn't need to be that way. The core part of an agreement is often saying, what am I going to do? And what are you going to do? And what do we have to do together? And that doesn't have to be in any complicated language. That needs to be straightforward and just set out what the deal is. And so I mean, that's kind of the broad answer is a lot of the stuff you need it. Like there are going to be clauses in a contract that'll say things like limitation of liability. That needs to be there. There are terms of art in there. But when you say, what are the services you're going to provide? Just write it in a clear and straightforward manner. And what I always like to say to people is that clarity is the most important thing. the whole point of having a written agreement is so that you don't have questions later. That's the most important thing, is basically think about it as eliminating gray areas. Because if there are gray areas, you're inviting people like me into your life, which you don't want. I mean, it's okay to have me at the beginning, but later on, you don't want to have me. And so just try to make your contracts as clear as possible. And then if you're worried that your clients are going to have a problem with it, explain to them that the point of a contract is to protect you and to protect them. So it, for instance, ensures that you actually do the work that you're supposed to do. And a story I like to give, it's not a coaching example, but I hired a company to do some marketing work for me. And me being a lawyer, I said, hey, let's make this really specific. And we were very specific about the work they were supposed to do. They ended up not doing it. So it was very clear I could go back and say, give me my money back. And we didn't have a fight. And I'm still on good terms with them because it just, we were able to work it out. So I think you can explain to your clients that the point of a contract is to protect both sides, not just you.
Right. So let me sum up for a second. What I heard you say is you got to have the legal stuff, especially the terms of art, because it's there for a reason. Over time, there have been issues with it, and if you include it, you're covered. However, you can write things pretty simply, especially in terms of the basic agreement of what you're doing up front. And you can also help message what you're doing with your client to say, look, this is here to protect both of us, and it's here to make sure we're both clear, so that they don't feel like, oh my God, I'm getting a 3-page boilerplate document. They can feel like, okay, this is actually an okay thing. Is that fair?
That's right. And so like in my template forms that I create, I mean, literally there's really only like 1 or 2 clauses that are really meant to protect just one side. Most of these things, the whole point is to create a good relationship. And what I like to say is get the legal stuff taken care of, so then you don't have to worry about it. I mean, because you don't want to do that with your clients. And so I think you can do that in a really good way if you just build a relationship and discuss it.
Yes. And one of the things, so there's 2 points I want to make. One is, one of the things I always teach and I'm really hard on is you choose clients, especially when you're one-on-one and you're writing, you're going to have a good contract with them. Choose clients that you like, that you're going to work with well. Do a lot of that. The legal stuff won't ever be a big issue, right? And so, if you start with the right clients, you're going to eliminate a lot of risk up front. And second, I forgot about this. Let me go, hang on. Can't believe I forgot to mention this. But you guys, we're doing a giveaway. So let me pull this back up. Totally forgot to mention in the beginning. I'm giving away, and it's apropos to this, I'm giving away a client contract that Bobby designed. And it's a template with all of the information that is very helpful that you're going to need. And he has a video with it. So he explains what it all means. So you can really understand what's happening. So you get a little bit of a legal training, as well as you understand how to use this template correctly. It's worth $200, and we're just giving one away. So there's going to be a quiz at the end of our time together, just FYI, a simple quiz. But I hope you've been paying attention, because we've actually talked about some stuff that's going to show up on the quiz already. So all you have to do is stick around, ask your questions, pay attention, and you'll be up to potentially win this at the end and save yourself $200 and a lot of hassle. All right. Okay. So another question I got is, do you have any recommendations or thoughts on legal liability insurance for coaches?
Yeah, people ask me this a lot. And, the answer is that it's often quite hard to find an insurance broker who can figure out what we do in the online space. If you can, it's probably worthwhile. But at the same time, if you think about it, most of your issues, most disputes you're going to have, I would hope at least, are not the kinds of things where insurance is ever going to kick in, because it's going to be below a deductible, right? It's going to be a couple $1,000 here and a couple $1,000 there. It's not going to be worth trying to make an insurance claim. Again, I'm different. I have my online business. I also have a law firm. So I have malpractice insurance for my law firm, but that's because, some of the stuff I'm doing, theoretically, it's, hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake. And so in that case, it definitely makes sense. You want to try to structure things, though, and you can get a lot of the same protection by structuring things to just avoid disputes in the first place. And that's with good contracts. And I think one of the questions you got that we're going to talk about are things that you need to put on your website. And so one of those things is a disclaimer, which is a really important thing to hopefully kind of dissuade people from ever coming after you. what I would say on insurance, you might want to try to find it, price it out, see what it's going to cost. If it's something that the cost isn't exorbitant and it's going to make you feel better, get it. But hopefully, and I'll be honest, I haven't heard a lot of people ever actually using their insurance in the coaching space, just because, like I said, most of the disputes are going to be $1,000 here or a couple $1,000 there. And so it's not going to be the kind of thing that's going to actually ever get above whatever your deductible is in a typical insurance policy.
I love this explanation. So the ICF, the International Coaching Federation, has programs where they'll offer you insurance and other things. But I actually agree with Bobby. We're not licensed therapists, so it's a little bit different for coaches, which is a good thing for us. And a lot of problems can be solved by choosing the right clients. If we're talking about private clients up front, having a good contract in place and working with them, like really talking with them, and ultimately just refunding them. If that gets to it, that's going to really make most people happy at the end of it. If you get a really difficult client, and then you're done, and you don't need to necessarily carry a lot of insurance. But I love the point you made about the disclaimer. So let's just go ahead and jump to what should you have on your website, especially if you're doing, if you're a coach who's out there in the world and you got a website. What do we need to have? So hit us with it.
Right. So there are 3 policy documents you need on your website if you're a coach, and really any kind of online entrepreneur is going to need these. First, you need what's called the terms of use or terms of service. This is just think of it as kind of the basic rules of the road. So it's things like explaining what people are allowed to do and not allowed to do with freebies and with things like that. And if you have small, cheap products, for example, let's say you sell an ebook for $49 or something like that, you're going to set the basic terms of what's your refund policy and things like that in your basic website terms of service. So that's that first document. It's not legally required, but you should have it. It's just a good idea to have these things. And for example, if you're giving freebies out, you're going to make clear to people that, hey, I'm giving this to you for you to use personally, not for you to go and copy and give to other people or something like that. So that's the first document. The second policy is your privacy policy. And this one actually is legally required. You've got to have it. Both there's a California law that's been on the books for a long time. And you mentioned the GDPR is a new European Union law that comes in here. Basically, a privacy policy tells people, here's the information I'm collecting. Here's why I'm collecting it. Here's what I'm going to do with it. Here's who I'm going to share it with. And then it has some other kind of disclaimers you have to have now under the GDPR. So that is a core document you've got to have. It's not legalese, but it's pretty technically, just because, our websites are kind of complicated. And this is for things, even if you don't think you're collecting information, you probably are. But if you're collecting emails or anything like that, you definitely are collecting personal information for people. So you got to have that document. And then the last document is the disclaimer. And this document does, or policy does, a couple of different things. The big piece I kind of already alluded to, what you're going to say is that your website, you are not giving any kind of professional advice on your website. And this is something that trips people up. And they say, but I am giving people advice. Well, you are, but not on your website. So what I like to tell people is my blog post, my podcast, my webinars, none of that is advice. I don't give legal advice to people over the internet. If you want legal advice from me, you hire me, and then in the one-on-one relationship, I give you advice. What your disclaimer says is what I'm giving you online is education and information. And then it goes on to say that the people who come to your website who use it are responsible 100% for checking it out. And they recognize that they are 100% responsible for the results of whatever may happen if they try to apply this, et cetera. So that's the key part. There are other pieces, like you're going to have a disclaimer if you're doing any kind of coaching where you're making claims about the results people are going to get. You're going to have language, and you can't just say results aren't typical, but think of it as kind of that language, that the results in these testimonials aren't necessarily typical. And then if you do things like affiliate marketing or reviews or get any kind of money from someone to review anything on your website, you have to disclose that too. So that's where your disclaimer document, that last piece probably isn't going to apply to most of the folks here on this training though.
Yeah. So let me recap that really fast. So terms of service is where we explain exactly, how people are using our products and website, everything else. Privacy policy is required and everyone should have it. And you'll need to take a look into, you can do some research to find out what is involved there, or you can go to youronlinegenius.com and learn from Bobby directly. and the disclaimer, which we should all have as well, that makes it very clear that anyone engaging in our website and using our materials understands that they're doing it personally for themselves and that we're not giving them advice in that way, and it protects us from legal liability.
Yep. So your disclaimer should be one of your favorite documents, quite honestly, as an online entrepreneur or anyone with an online presence. That should be one of your favorite documents.
Yes. Bobby, do you want to put in the chat your website or where, because I know you have some free forms that get people started too. Can you chat that in for us?
Yeah. So actually I've got, because I saw someone ask about these documents, I have a freebie. Let me find, we'll find where people can get that freebie.
And you guys can also check out, I encourage you to just check out what people are doing. Like you can go to thecoachpony.com. You can look at our terms of service, our privacy policy, my disclaimer, all of that stuff if you'd like, just to get an idea of what it looks like, what we're talking about. Because as we talk about it verbally, sometimes I know it's just hard to sink in exactly the details of this. So you can go take a quick look at what we're talking about, and then you can get your training and get yourself set up to protect you on your website, and you'll kind of get a better idea of exactly what you need. So feel free to check that out.
And I just dropped a link in where people can get my ultimate website guide, where I kind of talk about these documents, and then I talk a little bit more about what's in them. You'll get some emails from me that'll tell you some more and give you some more information as well. And you mentioned the GDPR training. One of the things they'll get is a link to join that GDPR training for free. Get all that info as well.
Awesome. If you have clients in Europe, or if you're practicing in Europe, you must do GDPR training. So I'm going to read this out loud for anyone in Barb watching later who can't see the link. It's https://forms.youronlinegenius.com/ultimate-website-guide. All right. Awesome. Okay. So a lot of coaches have clients from different states. This is pretty normal for a lot of us. Are there any legal aspects to consider when choosing which state to set up the LLC or the business entity in? Should they choose a state where their clients are from, their state, or does it matter? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so there's a couple issues I want to address here. One is the direct question of the LLC question.
Yep.
You may hear what I would say is some very bad advice out there, that you should form an LLC in Nevada or Delaware.
Yes.
And people say it's for tax benefits. I'm not a tax lawyer. I'm not a CPA, but I've not ever been able to figure out any tax benefit you're going to have as a coach or anyone with an LLC by forming your LLC anywhere else. The standard advice is form the LLC where you are. And here's the reason. When you form an LLC where you are in your state, you can be what is called the registered agent. That means that if someone wants to file a lawsuit against the LLC, they just serve you. If you're not in the state, you have to hire a company to do that job. Again, that's not a major expense, but you have to do that. Then you're going to have to still register your foreign LLC that you formed somewhere else in your home state. And so you're going to have paperwork in 2 different states. You're going to have to pay fees in 2 different states. You're going to have someone. I don't know why you would want to do that. Form it where you are, and then you deal with it. Now, the other thing I'll tell people is often it's not hard to do. In DC, it costs, I think, $220 to form your LLC. And then we have to fill out reports. I think it's every 2 years. And I say fill out reports, we basically just have to pay them another $200 or $300 every 2 years.
In Virginia, it's $50, FYI.
Yeah, right. Some are cheap. Some places are expensive, though. If you're in California,
$1,000 or $2,000. It's so much money I have to lie down every time I talk about it. It's frustrating.
But I mean, that's the fact. But California is really the outlier. I mean, a lot of states, it's like $40 or $50 or $75. So it's really cheap to do. So just do it where you are, unless you're getting more complicated. The benefits of doing like a Delaware corporation come if like there are multiple owners and different owners and things like that. And so for the most part, it's just, you're not there yet. I'm not there yet. Very few coaches or online entrepreneurs get there. It's when you have a company owned by a bunch of different people where it's an issue. Now, a different issue I want to address on this, though, that you didn't really ask, though, is, and I don't think it applies to life coaches, but you need to think about this. If you're doing something like nutrition or something where you're kind of coming close to medical or something like that, you have to be careful, because various states have rules that say, for example, you cannot give nutrition advice without being registered in that state. And so that's a separate issue that you have to think about. and you have to get to the bottom of that. If you're doing something, again, if you're doing just basic life coaching, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think about that. It's when you start doing anything homeopathy, nutrition, something kind of in that vein. If you were trying to do it as a CPA or as a lawyer, there are concerns as well. But if you're in one of those areas, think about that and make sure you do research there as well.
And I just want to add, for those of you who are like, where do I begin? Usually your local county, town will have a business office. They're usually super helpful. They want to get you registered as a business. They're happy to take your money. So they make it easy for you to learn. So just start Googling around. There's almost certainly a free, it's called SCORE in Virginia or DC. It's, there's a bunch of different names for it, but there's a free office that's really going to help you navigate this process and learn a little bit about it in terms of your state specifically. So don't be afraid of that. There are people who are desperate to help you because they want to take your money for the state.
Yeah, but the other thing I would say is don't hire me or some other lawyer to incorporate your business. I mean, there's literally no reason to do that. I have a webinar I do, and I show people literally in DC, I have to answer 8 questions to form my LLC, and that's it. And so there's really no reason you should pay me or someone else to do it. You may need an agreement that maybe pay LegalZoom or me or someone else to grab a form from, but don't pay a lawyer to actually do it. People will charge you $2,000 and $3,000, and I say, why? I don't understand it.
Yeah, and so for everyone asking in for how do I get started, remember, go to your state.gov or this. The website for your state will also give you information on what you have to do to register as an LLC or as a sole proprietor business in your state, and it's slightly different state to state. So you need to do that research on your own so you can get the best information directly from the state. And again, there's going to be stuff at your local county or town level to help you navigate that process. It's going to be free as well.
Yeah, and when you're doing the search, generally in at least 80% of the states, you're looking for the state secretary of state's office is where they're going to have the information. But just search for like corporation division in your state on Google and you'll find it.
Or how to become an LLC,
Yeah, right.
like that'll get it too. So out there. And so let's, I see a question in the chat that's relevant. So why an LLC versus a sole proprietorship? Can you address this? Because there's a legal advantage to this.
Yeah, there is. So if you're a sole proprietor under the law, there is no distinction between you personally and your business. So what that means is if you sign a contract on behalf of the business, you are automatically on the hook personally for it. So if you sign a lease, if you sign any kind of contract, you are liable 100%. If you create an LLC, that's not the case. So if you create an LLC and you sign contracts on behalf of the LLC, let's say you can't live up to it. You personally are not liable for it. I, for example, my law firm signs my leases for my office. Your Online Genius signs contracts there for my marketing and all of that stuff. So the business, just the LLC, is liable. They can't come after my house. They can't come after my car. They can't come after my bank account. Now, I do want to give you a caveat here. As a life coach, you're going to be like me as a lawyer. Creating an LLC doesn't let you avoid liability for what you do personally, meaning if you give bad advice, someone can still sue you even if you have an LLC. But everything else, all your contracts, all of that stuff, you can kind of cabin liability. Also, if you start hiring people, either as a contractor, if you have a designer, if you have a social media team, and if they screw something up legally, if you have an LLC, you're not liable. The LLC is. Again, most times that's not going to be bad enough, but it gives you the option to eventually just say, I'm done. I got $100 in the LLC here. Have fun. You can have it, but you can't come after me personally. Hopefully you never get there, but that's the real advantage of it. It's that liability. Tax benefits, there really aren't any. You can get more complicated once you get a little further along and become an S corp as an LLC, which can have some tax benefits. You get to avoid certain taxes, but that's a bit further along.
Yeah, you're not going to want to think about the corporation status, I believe, until you're at least 6 figures or higher. I mean, I don't think you need to have a conversation or a thought about it until you start to get to that point. And then again, some of it's going to depend on your state as to when it's right to move to a different level in your business.
Yep.
All right. What are the 3 things that every coach should have? Well, we actually did that. Sorry. For coaches in Canada or elsewhere, but with clients in the US or some other country, for instance, what, if any, extra legal cover do they need? And same true for coaches in the US with clients in Canada or the UK. What else should we be thinking about when we're dealing with different countries?
Well, so one of the things you have to think about is when you're dealing with different countries, one of the big issues is the online component and thinking about the different pieces there. So each country has its own laws that apply to marketing online. The U.S. ironically is the wild, wild west. A lot of people, yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realize this, but you can add people to your email list in the United States without them ever giving you any permission at all. You can just add them as long as you allow them to opt out once they get the email. Which I don't know if you've had this happen. I've had this happen a lot recently. All of a sudden, I'm getting emails from these people who just found me somehow, and then I'm on their mailing list. That's actually not allowed in Canada. It's not allowed in the European Union, but in the United States it is. So you kind of have to be aware of these different rules when it comes to marketing. Luckily, when it comes to content, that's an area of law called copyright. That's universal. I think it's 180 some odd countries have all signed on to this single convention. So the law is pretty much the same everywhere. But you do have to make sure you understand certain, distinctions and just be aware of it. There's little nuances that are different. So here in the US, most times, if you're a US based coach, you're in your contract probably going to want to have an arbitration clause that says if there's a dispute, we go through arbitration, not through the courts. That's what I do in every contract I have. You have to pay the person to decide the case, but it will save you on legal fees if you ever get there. So you're going to want that. Well, in the US, we have what's called the Federal Arbitration Act, which allows us to use those, and those are fully enforceable. Not the case everywhere else. So you may not be able to use those in other places.
Let me pause for a second. So if I'm in the US and I get a Canadian private client, and I have an arbitration clause, what are you suggesting I do? Do I stick to that, or I have to research if it's enforceable on them? What's my game plan?
So if you're my view is if you're in the U.S. and you say the contract, you can add something into the contract that says that it's controlled by the law of, and you'd put your state, and then you don't have a problem because people have agreed, I will be bound by the laws of this state, and then it will generally be enforceable. It's different if you as the business holder are somewhere else. That's where things can get more complicated, and you may have some issues come up. Again, the beauty is that the English speaking world, we all actually kind of derive from a single legal tradition, which is the European or the British system. So the British system became our system, became the Canadian system, became the Australian system. So largely our areas of law are the same. So you generally will have the same types of law. There are other places where things are completely different. The French system is a completely different legal system. So if you have clients in France, you're going to have some different issues. And Quebec is kind of a weird part of Canada, kind of like we've got Louisiana here in the United States that has some of that tradition as well. But otherwise, really the law is pretty much going to be the same. I caveat that by saying I studied United States law. I never studied Canadian law. I never studied British law. I never studied Australian law specifically, but that's generally the conventional wisdom. But I would say if you're in one of these other countries, I would definitely try to find someone locally who can give you a little bit of information.
Okay, good. I'm seeing some questions about, again, a registered agent. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that to clear it up so everyone's clear and we're not confused?
Okay, so a registered agent is someone who you have told the state where you create your corporation, whether it's an LLC or some other entity, that this person, and I say person, it can be a person or it can be another entity, will be responsible, is present in the state, and you can, serve process, it's called. Basically, that means if someone wants to sue the company, or if the state wants to bring a regulatory action or anything like that, a registered agent is the person who can be served with that and to start the process. So like I said, if you form an LLC or an entity in your state, you'll just name yourself. Again, some people don't like this because you're going to have to give your physical address. I don't have a problem with that. I've had my physical address on my LLCs since I first formed them. but you'll have to do that. But if you do it somewhere else, you're gonna have to find someone else. And there are companies, I think like CT Corporation is one of the big ones that they have offices, I think, in every state. So you could hire them to be your registered agent. And then they would accept service, and then they're going to tell you, and there's actually a delay. Often it's a week or two before you even hear from them that they've been served with a lawsuit and you've been sued. Again, hopefully none of this ever matters, and you never need it,
Keep it
but
simple.
you have to have one.
Register if you are an LLC, register in your own state. You
Yep.
will be your own agent because you'll be there, you'll be on the ground. You're not big enough as a new coach to need to have a myriad of people working for you on this stuff. And if you do, choose your clients correctly and you have a good contract, you probably will avoid any legal issues as it is.
Yep.
And I'm going to take a quick crack at this question first, and Bobby, you can elaborate if I get anything wrong. The benefit to an LLC, everyone, is it protects your personal assets in many cases and provides a wall between your personal assets and your business in many cases, not all. And Bobby outlined one where it won't, but that's the benefit of LLC, to kind of shield your personal, your family assets from someone who comes after your business. So can you elaborate just what did I miss there?
That's absolutely right. And the one exception you mentioned is you can't avoid liability for what you do personally. So if you screw up and give someone horrible advice, they can sue you for that. Again, as a life coach, they're going to have a tough time. Me as a lawyer, people can always sue me for malpractice if I'm their lawyer, and I can't avoid that with an LLC. But anything else I can avoid. So any contract, any lease, anything like that, plus anything if I have contractors or workers working for the business, they can't come after me personally, meaning someone else can't come after me personally for something that one of my contractors or employees screws up.
Yeah. So it's a safety shield to help protect your assets, essentially. And so that's why to do it. Do you have to do it day one? No. And one thing I'm going to tell you guys, to be very clear, we talk about this at Coach Pony all the time. Before you rush out and get your logo and your LLC and your contracts and everything set up, make sure this is what you want to do. So really focus in on who you want to serve, develop your packages, start to get some sales training, get your business foundation in place. Learn by doing that before you get deep in the admin, because that's what's really important. The rest of this is just, it's admin, essentially, right? It's important admin, and you do need to do it, but it shouldn't be the first thing that you do. You should focus on, am I really good at this? Is this what I want to do? Do I understand how to have a business like this? And then you can worry about these details.
Yeah, I think that's right. What I would say is, but I would do a quick research. If you're in a state that it's going to cost you $50 to create an LLC, that should be pretty high on your list, right? If you're in California and it's going to be $1,000, yeah, wait and definitely put it off. But it's just one of those things that a lot of people don't do. But I agree. I mean, you shouldn't overcomplicate this stuff and let fear of the legal stuff, especially, stop you from taking action.
Yes. All right. This is a really good question. I get all the time. I'd love to know your answer. How do I protect my online coaching programs or work, where I keep stuff resident, from being stolen or illegally shared? Is there any language I can use, or is there any recourse I have?
Well, I'm going to give you some good news and bad news. The bad news is if you create good content, it will be stolen, and there's no avoiding that. So I kind of like to say you should want people to steal your stuff, because it's a sign that you've done something good. So that's the bad news. The good news is you have protection automatically. This is copyright law. So any kind of copyright law protects any creative content, and creative content, it doesn't have to be The Great Gatsby, our web copy, our white page. If you have a course, if you have anything like that, it is copyright protected. And the great news is it's copyright protected the minute you create it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to take any action. You have protection automatically and immediately. And this is why I mentioned earlier that 180 some odd countries, I think it's literally all but like 10 countries in the world, have all signed on to what's called the Berne Convention. So this rule is the same everywhere. So you create it, it's protected automatically everywhere. So you get protection automatically. You can take a step of registering it with if you're here in the States, the United States Copyright Office. Again, that's a process I would say you can do yourself. You don't need to hire me. It'll cost you, I think it's between $35 and $55 per work, depending on the kind of work that you're trying to register. And the reason to register really is that only comes into play later on if you're in a lawsuit, if you're in a dispute, if you want to sue someone, you're going to have to register it, but you could always wait and register it later. But if you register it at the beginning, you get some added benefits in a lawsuit. Again, it's probably not going to happen. You're probably never going to sue someone because, let's be honest, most people who are stealing your stuff and using it online, they don't have money. So suing them is not going to get you any good. Your best friend when it comes to this is what's called the DMCA. It's the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. This was a law passed here in the States back in 1998 that essentially says any kind of third-party hosting entity, so a Facebook, a GoDaddy, a Teachable, any one of these systems where they host content created and put up by someone else, they have to have a way that copyright holders can notify them of an infringement and say, take this down, and then they have to respond. If they don't, they can be sued. So all of these companies have it. So if you find that someone has taken your content and has put it up somewhere else, your first bet is to find who is hosting it and then find their terms of service, and it'll tell you how to send a DMCA takedown notice. You find that, you send that in, and they'll take it down. That normally is all you're going to want to do, because you're just not going to want to chase people. Most times it's not going to be worthwhile. Even a lot of really big name entrepreneurs that I know and that I've talked to will tell you they just don't do it. They don't worry about it. People are going to steal your stuff. It's part of the business. And, don't spend too much time worrying about it. Be ready to use the DMCA, and that usually will be as far as you go. If someone big steals your stuff and is selling a bunch of it, then maybe you talk to a lawyer, but normally it's not going to be worthwhile.
Yes. And the other thing I often think to myself is that person is sad, right? They could not come up with their own stuff, and you can always come up with more, so they're not stealing your inventiveness and everything else. So, there's that to consider as well.
Yeah, well, and along those lines, someone I know who sells $1,000 courses said, look, these places knock them off and are selling it for $97. Someone who's going to go buy that course for $97 on one of these websites where it's very clearly stolen was never going to pay you $1,000 for your course. They are not the person who you want to be doing business with. So that's why kind of don't worry about it. It happens, and I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about it.
Yeah. And I want to address something Chris brought up. If legalese isn't the first thing we need to do, at what point do we do it? Don't we need a contract for that first client? So yes, you do want to have a contract for your private clients. Absolutely. The point I'm trying to make is a lot of new coaches, the very first thing they do is they get a logo, they get, inundated with what should I do with my LLC? They get involved in all of this paperwork. But the first step to getting a paying client is build a coaching package. It's knowing who you're going to serve. It's understanding the client buying journey. It's building a sales conversation and a sales process to attract people. It's marketing. So there's a lot of stuff that happens before that contract. And some of the admin stuff, whether you're an LLC or a sole proprietor, can wait until you know for sure that you want to be a full-time coach, that you want to pursue this business, that you have a foundation in place to get paying clients. It doesn't have to be the very first thing you do. You can wait until you're to the point where you're starting to get paying clients to spend a lot of time on that stuff. Should you research a little bit up front? Absolutely. But for many coaches, they get bogged down into the legalese and they never ever get past it. They never get to the point of giving the clients. So that's why I'm saying, spend a little bit of time on the foundational stuff, on building your packages and thinking about who you want to serve and how you're going to serve them and how you're going to attract them before you rush into some of this legal stuff where you're spending money for a business that you haven't validated yet. So it's a little counterintuitive, but one of my goals here at Coach Pony is to always make your lives easier and save from heartache whenever I can. So that's why I want to make sure I was really clear on that.
Yeah. And if I can quickly, Christy, on that, I agree. You should not take money from a client without a contract, without a written contract. That is period. But I think the point isn't just about legal. It's more broadly, don't rush out and spend $5,000 on, some CRM data system that's kind of the top of the line yet. Make sure that it works. You can kind of, I bootstrapped my way up to build my online business, et cetera. And I think that's the point is don't feel like you have to have the cat's meow of everything right up front. Figure out if you've got a business and then do it incrementally.
Yes, exactly. And if you guys poke around on coachpony.com on our blog, you'll see how I built all of my websites and some of the things I did first. You'll also see some blogs on what you can ignore up front to help kind of focus your thinking to make sure you're doing things as smart as you can. One quick clarification from Sue. If you're solo and working from home with only private clients, I'm not hearing a need to form an LLC. So I think there's a tax benefit to this too. But Bobby, what are your thoughts?
No, again, not a tax lawyer. I don't think there are. I think a sole proprietor and an LLC will be treated the same from a tax basis. But Sue, what I would say is, even though maybe you don't have a lease, you probably have contracts you're signing with other people. And I don't know who those are. I don't know what you're doing.
Like a design
Um,
or a web developer?
right. A web developer, a designer, all those things. And again, normally that's not going to be a problem because normally they are going to be the ones who would be liable to you. And again, it becomes a cost benefit analysis. What I'd tell you is, and again, most every lawyer is going to say this, but if you're serious about your business, at some point you're going to form an LLC. Maybe you don't have to do it right now. But at some point you're likely going to have contracts with people. And at that point, you're probably going to want it. And I see, Sue, you just said, nope, you literally do everything yourself. And if you literally do everything yourself and you're working from home, you're correct. Having an LLC is not I can't think of a way it would help you because you are going to be giving advice so you could be sued. If that really is the case, you probably, aren't going to have any protection. But in the long term, you probably will grow. And at that point, you probably will want to think about it.
Okay, so there's a good question, good answer. There's a good question from Scott. What are the basic legal services and fees that you suggest we should consider to make our practices legally sound?
Well, so again, it depends on exactly what you're doing. What I like to say is, as a coach, let me walk through the basics that I would say you're going to need. One, you're going to need those 3 legal policies for your website, because I'm assuming you have a website. So you've got to get those in place.
And that was terms of service, the privacy policy, and the disclaimer. And you can see every major website, including Coach Pony. If you want to, if you're like, what is this? You can see what we're talking about, and then you can start to learn about it yourself.
Yeah. So those are that piece. You're going to need a client agreement. Because you're going to have clients. And so you've got to have an agreement. And again, you're going to want to just create standard agreements. And if you have different service packages, whoever wins the agreement, I know, Christy, you've looked at it. The way I have it set up is you'll just put the services in the back. So you can kind of have one shell document. You just kind of add the services to the back and put the different pricing. So you have that one document ready to go. Then there are some other things you have to think about. If you're going to work with contractors, you're going to need written agreements for them. So it's an independent contractor agreement. The point of that, a couple things. One, it's to say, again, set out the basics. Here's the work you're going to do. Here's what you're going to get paid. So that's the basics, but also it's going to say, hey, you're going to get some of my confidential information. You can't use that for anything but my business. And then the last piece, and this comes in if you have someone who's creating content or creating designs for you, you need to have them transfer the rights in what's called the intellectual property. So that's the copyright and trademark rights to you as the business owner. So that's kind of a must. Then as you go along further, you may need things like a testimonial release. So if people are going to give you testimonials, you need them to release what are called their publicity rights. And again, some states you don't need that. Some states you do need a written release, but best practice, have a document and just have it. Those are the big things. Then as you expand, if you have a course, you need an agreement for your course or your online program, and these things can kind of grow from there. Those are kind of the big things that I can think of after the things like creating an LLC and the basics, setting up and structuring your business.
And what would someone expect to spend on getting all that stuff in place?
Well, it depends on what you want to do. Again, so there are, honestly, if you came and hired me to try to create all that stuff for you from scratch, you're talking multiple thousands. But you shouldn't do that, especially as a starting coach. You should find templates. There are folks like me that sell templates for people who you can get those. I have packages where you can get, you can get whole packages for about $500 that'll have everything you need, depending on the time of year and what I'm doing with specials. So it doesn't have to be something that's gonna really break the bank.
Yeah. So set aside some money for this.
Yep.
don't hire a lawyer to do all of this work privately for you, I think is the message we're trying to send here. Go to Your Online Genius to get ideas for exactly what you need.
Yeah. There's there again, some people want to hire a lawyer so that they just know it's done, and that's fine. But if you're looking there, think $2,000 to $5,000. If you hired me, realistically, that's what you would be expecting for me to kind of develop it all, really talking with you and doing it from scratch rather than just using templates.
So I want to step back for a second to our intellectual property discussion on group programs, for instance, because someone said, how do I prove that my content is original? So someone steals my content. I see it's on a website hosted by GoDaddy. I contact GoDaddy to be like, take this down. How do I prove that I was the originator?
Well, so hopefully you have, I mean, nowadays it's not a huge issue because you have what's called the metadata on a computer. And again, that's a very, it's a technical term, but basically anytime you do anything on a computer these days, there's going to be a record of it. And so you'll have things, again, depending on what it is, like where you posted it first. If you created it and posted on your website, your host will have a record of when that content went up. If you use an outside service like a Kajabi, a Kartra, a Teachable to host an online course or program, again, they will have records of when you posted the stuff and a history. So that's how you generally can do it, and how you prove it. Again, that tends to not be the problem, because most times people just, it's very clear they stole it. And so you don't have to feel like it. And I'm not sure if this is what the question was getting at. Sometimes people have a similar product, a similar offering, that you're probably not going to be able to stop, quite honestly, because there are only so many ideas. Copyright doesn't protect the idea. It protects the particular expression of the idea. And again, I got to be honest, I understand life coaching a little bit. I don't understand it enough, but I'll use a different example of, Facebook advertising. People who sell courses about Facebook advertising, I mean, they're all going to be teaching basically the same stuff. It's going to be how they put it. It's going to be how they teach you how to do those things that's different. So you can't stop someone from doing, offering a similar course only from offering the identical, like taking your content and doing it. That's when there's a problem. And so again, then you're going to use computer records normally.
Yeah, good. So one question, what if a client agrees on email that you can use their email testimonial? So they sent you something, you say, can I use this? Is that solid? Is that good for now?
Yeah, that's fine. You need so again, what the rule is, this is called the right to publicity. And this gives every individual the right to control how their name, image, and likeness as a base level is used commercially. Some states go even further, like Indiana, I think, protects your signature. Some states, it's allowed that you don't have to have a written waiver. Some require a written waiver. A written waiver doesn't have to be formal. It just has to be giving you permission. And with a testimonial, it's fine. The bigger things you need to be thinking about is if you start expanding your platform, like I have a podcast, anyone who comes on my podcast has to click a thing agreeing that I can use that for anything and everything that's legal. My point is I want to maybe in the future create a freebie that's the 10 best pieces of advice anyone's given on my podcast. And for that, I'm going to need a little more explicit waiver. But anything in writing will do for a testimonial. And what I should say, I collect testimonials through SurveyMonkey, and I have a button or a box people have to click, and that's it. And so it's recorded electronically.
Yeah, and I do this thing, and then they have to put in their name saying that they agree.
Yep.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to all, sometimes I feel like we want to get it right. And so we kind of make it hard, but it doesn't always have to be so hard. One last question, Bobby, this is way off topic, but do you play guitar?
I played bass. I played bass guitar in a band in high school and college. I was, believe it or not, this is a bit strange. I was in a punk rock band in college. And the funny thing is now that I'm an IP lawyer, it's especially funny. We recorded one record. We never actually released it, but we recorded it. And in the mastering process, we were including clips from movies and other things that were clear copyright violations. But that's why I have that. I just love the art. My brother is actually still a musician. And so I have a lot of friends who are musicians as well.
So in a second, I want to give you guys a quiz to see who's going to win a free $200 legal client contract from Bobby, which is an awesome gift that I'm just giving to this community. But I just want to have everyone just take a deep breath for a second, because I know we talk about a lot of stuff. Bobby gave us a lot of information, but really it's going to be okay. there's only a few things you have to do in the very beginning to protect yourself. One is really laser in on who you want to serve and get really, really clear. Because if you choose good clients, most of the stuff will never even matter in terms of getting sued and being really stressed about it and all sorts of stuff. Two is have a good contract, for your clients where you're super clear on what they're getting. So in a contract, you're not making guarantees to the result. You're not guaranteeing they're going to feel a certain way. You're not guaranteeing that they're going to get a job. What you're guaranteeing is you're going to deliver a certain amount of sessions, and over a certain period of time, and it's going to cost a certain amount of money. And there's some stuff in that, but spend some time on that and get that in place. Get those 3 things on your website: your privacy policy, your terms of service, and your disclaimer. Get that right. And, do some research in your state about when it's appropriate to register as an LLC, and, register where you live to make your life easier, and especially in the beginning. And as your business grows and you get a lot more income, you can look at, is it time to become an S Corp? Is it time to think about my business registration, everything else? Anything I missed there, Bobby?
No, I think you got the high points. And then what I would say, that one last piece is just think through this, and anytime you have a relationship of any kind, not just with clients, write something down in paper. Just write something down so that you have some record of what you agreed to, and be clear. And the bigger point is the bigger point you said. Don't be afraid. This stuff doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's not rocket science. It's stuff you have to know, but it's not all that hard.
Yes, and you can. You don't have to have everything perfect on day one.
Yeah.
To get started. You can do it as you go, and you will. And that's the way most of us do it. So with that, let's take a quick quiz. So I want you to answer these questions yourself, and then there's 3 questions. You'll chat in the answers all at once. So I'll give you a second to write down the questions on your end, and then we'll say, okay, chat in. First person who chats all 3 in successfully, correctly, will get the template. So really a were you paying attention quiz.
I hope I know the answer.
Yeah. And Bob, if you could help me identify the first person, I'll try. Chat moves pretty fast. Okay. So is everyone ready? So grab a pen and paper or your mental gerbils and just get ready. Here we go. What university did Bobby attend? What university? Remember, chat it into yourself. Otherwise, you'll be sharing the answer with everyone else. You don't want to do that yet. What university did Bobby attend? Said that in the very beginning. Hope you were paying attention. All right. Next, don't chat. You don't want to chat it in yet because you'll be giving the answer away. We're not going to do it. Don't chat it in yet. You're going to give the answer away to everyone, and you're not ready yet. You got to wait. Wait till I tell you. All right. Don't chat this in until I tell you. Okay. You're going to chat in all 3 answers at once.
Yeah, I think there were just some hints given, Christy.
What was the Revolutionary Club all about? You can just, close this sentence. I explained what the Revolutionary Club was about. What was it all about? Write it down. You'll chat it in all at once, all 3 answers at once. So what was the Revolutionary Club all about? Were you paying attention in the beginning of this call? Because that's where most of these questions are from. All right. What was Revolutionary Club all about? And final question. What is our mission at Coach Pony? I said that sentence very clearly. Our mission at Coach Pony is. What is our mission at Coach Pony? So write that down. I'm going to give you 1 more second to kind of get your answers together. And remember, you'll want to write all 3 all at once when I tell you, and then you can just hit return. And the first person who gets them all right gets $200 for free. Essentially, you haven't said yes yet. Guys, haven't said it. You said it earlier. Too early. Too early. All right. So everyone after Tracy, or after Christina. All right, here we go. Chat it in now. If you already chatted it in, you failed. Okay. So anyone who after Christina will be looking at the chat. Scott says starting a coaching business, helping coaches succeed. Nope. Harvard. Oh God, this is moving so fast. Give resources to coaches, start a business. Looks like Tina. I think Tina got it. I think Tina got the closest, right? Yeah. Tina, I think I'm gonna give it to Tina because she was spot on in everything she said. There's a little wiggle room in everyone else. So, all right, Tina, can you do me a favor? Can you tell us? You don't have to do it here, so if you don't want to do it publicly, you can just email hello@coachpony.com and let us know. Tell us the best email address for you, and we'll send it to Bobby, and he'll send you the information. So just tell us that. Does that work? So she doesn't have to, you don't have to share your email publicly if you don't want to.
Yeah, that's fine. And so Tina, what'll happen, just so you know, once Christy gets me your email address, I'm gonna just add you. The form comes with what's called a membership. So you'll get an email from my system, Kartra, that will welcome you to the membership, and you'll sign in there. That's where you'll get the form, and then also find the video that she mentioned that kind of walks through how to complete it, and then also basically what everything means, so you'll understand it all.
Awesome. So I do want to say this. Listen, you guys, I worked a deal with Bobby. If you want the coach client contract, it's $200. If you go to the link that Bobby maybe will chat in, you can input the words Coach Pony. You can use a coupon, input the words Coach Pony, get $100 off. I'm waiving my affiliate fee. I'm just waiving the affiliate fee on this. So this is just a gift to you. I'm not getting anything from this. I'm just recommending it because I know it's a big deal. The client contract is the one we talked about as being really, really important in the beginning. So you don't have to go here. You don't have to do this. Bobby has also some free stuff. But if you want to, just know you can get 50% off. You can get $100 off. So you'll get the client contract for $100 if you didn't win. So just want you to know that's available. If you want, Coach Pony is the coupon code you need to use for it. All right. So
I'm putting in the link now.
Okay.
So yeah, you have that. It's basically forms.youronlinegenius.com/client agreement. And yeah, I think you guys all need to thank Christy. She, I always work a deal with people. I have an affiliate program. They can sign up and get 50%, but she said she didn't want that. So we just created a 50% coupon code. She's giving all of the savings to you rather than trying to make any money on the deal. So if you're interested, you can grab it there at 50% off. So it's $100.
Yeah. So I definitely recommend you go to youronlinegenius.com if you need information on your legal forms, on your policy, your disclaimer, things like that. Bobby's got a lot of that. And I like that he includes a video training. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted him to come to talk, is because I feel like he gives you the context of the form, which is important for us as coaches to understand, so that as we adapt it for our businesses, we don't set ourselves up for a failure or a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, I really want to thank you guys for being here. I'm so appreciative. If this webinar was helpful, if you want more webinars like this, email us at hello@coachpony.com. Just let us know. You can suggest more webinars. You can just say this was helpful. It takes a lot of time and effort for us to pull these together. And so when we do them, I want to make sure they're helpful. So if you could email us at hello@coachpony, that would be great. Please stick around and join our community at Coach Pony. If you haven't already, you can go to coachpony.com. We're there for you. Check out our blog, coachpony.com blog. We want to see you there. And, I just hope to see you around, because I really believe this. The world is so messed up, it feels like these days, and coaches are out there helping people realize their potential and change their lives and reach their goals. And I frankly think the more of that we have in the world, the better off we're going to be. So I'm so appreciative of the work that you guys are doing, and I want you to be successful. All right. And last thing, if you missed it, I'm sorry. If you're not in Build a Real Business, the recording will be housed there. If you want to join Build a Real Business, you can find out all about it. I'll put it in the link right here. It's Join Us. Sorry, guys. I can't type. I mistyped something. coachpony.com/join us. That's where you can find Build a Real Business. And with that, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for being here with us.